Welcome to this week's Resilience by Default podcast. Today we're diving deep into a really critical topic, especially for anyone in the world of wealth preservation, the resilience of the family office.
Right, let's get straight into it. We're looking at a brilliant analysis from Terry on why operational resilience is no longer a nice to have. It's an absolute must for any modern family office. And this first quote, well, it completely changes the game. This isn't about IT checklists or disaster recovery plans that just sit on a shelf gathering dust.
For a family office, being resilient is now part of its fiduciary duty. That core fundamental promise to protect the family's assets, their reputation, and their legacy. And just so we're all on the same page, let's use Terry's definition. We're talking about those very private, very bespoke firms that manage the complex financial and personal lives of ultra-high net worth families. Their whole reason for being is to make sure that wealth lasts for generations.
So, here's how we're going to break this all down. First up, we'll get into the very personal risks these offices face. Then we'll look at the key pillars you need to build a resilient foundation. After that, we've got a practical roadmap to get there. And finally, we'll look at how all this work actually becomes a massive strategic advantage.
Okay, section 1, the risk itself. So what makes a family office so incredibly different from your average corporation when we're talking about operational threats? Well, it all comes down to just how personal the impact really is.
And this slide here shows the problem perfectly. Terry points out this uniquely vulnerable intersection. Think about it. All the knowledge is often with just a handful of key people. They are massive targets for cyber criminals, seen as wealthy but with fairly light defenses. Their investments are spread all over the world, which brings in all sorts of new risks. And the really crucial part? Any problem doesn't just hurt the finances. Because these places often have lean structures, it can directly threaten the family's privacy, their safety, and their public reputation. So, what's needed is a complete shift in mindset. You see, the old way of just putting out fires as they pop up, well, it just doesn't work anymore. Terry argues that the new gold standard is what he calls proactive continuity. It means you design the entire operation from the ground up, expecting disruption to happen. It's about being ready by design, not just hoping for the best. Which brings us nicely to section 2. So if the risks are that unique, the solution has to be just as specific. This is where we get into the nuts and bolts, the core components of what a robust framework actually looks like. Terry lays out these 6 pillars, and together they form a complete resilience framework. It all starts with crystal clear governance, who calls the shots in a crisis. Then, knowing what services absolutely have to keep running no matter what. It also covers your whole network of third parties, solid cyber defenses, practical continuity plans that you actually test, and the bedrock of everything, making sure your data and your records are secure and accurate. It's the whole shebang. Now, this is really interesting. Terry puts a huge red flag on the issue of third parties. Family offices rely on this massive web of partners, private banks, custodians, lawyers, tech providers. If just one of them goes down, it can grind the entire office to a halt. It's a huge, often invisible dependency that you've absolutely got to get a handle on. Okay, so we get the risks and we've seen the framework. But how do you actually build it? This next section is all about the how-to, and the key word here is pragmatic. This isn't about creating some huge, complex machine that just adds more paperwork. And Terry provides this really clear, logical path. See how it flows? You start by figuring out what's most important, your critical services. Then you map out everything they rely on, the people, the data, the suppliers. Once you've done that, you can see where you're weakest and focus on beefing up your cyber defenses. Any plans you write down have to be simple enough to use under pressure. And this is key, you have to test them every single year to make sure they're not just wishful thinking. The roadmap wraps up with 2 final but absolutely crucial steps. First, you've got to review your governance so that when a crisis hits, everyone knows exactly who's in charge of what. And second, you have to bake this way of thinking into your culture. It has to be part of how you onboard new staff, new advisors, and even new family members, so that resilience becomes everyone's job from day one. And that brings us to our final section, and honestly, this is the most powerful part of the whole argument. This stuff isn't just about playing defense, it's not a cost. When you get this right, operational resilience actually creates real, tangible value for the family. I mean, this statement from Terry just nails it. It completely reframes the whole conversation. We're moving away from just trying to stop bad things from happening and into the space of enabling good things to happen, but better and faster. A resilient organization is simply a stronger, more agile one.
So what does that payoff really look like in practice? Well, here it is. You're fundamentally protecting the family's name and their privacy. You're building much deeper trust with the family members and all their advisors. Clearer processes mean you make better decisions faster. It also makes you less dependent on any one person, which is so important for passing wealth to the next generation. A resilient office can pounce on investment opportunities more quickly, and it just shows a level of professionalism that opens doors. That's the real prize here.
Which leaves us with this final, unavoidable question. It sums up the choice that every single family office has to make. Is the protection of your family's entire legacy something you are actively designing, or are you just leaving it to chance, making it vulnerable by default? It's a tough question for sure, but a vital one.
Podcasts released every Tuesday on Spotify and YouTube. Like, subscribe, and repost. It helps us build the channel and focus on what's important to you. On Tuesday, 9th June, the Resilience Association has its 6th annual summit. This year's theme is Critical Third Parties, Strengthening the Backbone of Resilience. Terry will be there. DM him directly for a discount code.